This is High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Welcome back to High School Sports Talk here live on ESPN Radio 94.1. I'm the coach, Ed Young, the head coach at Nazareth River High School. We'll be playing soon today in the Virginia Preps Classic, Session 2 over at Oscar Smith High School. Game started at 11 o'clock, Bethel James Monroe, 12:40 Tallwood Thomas Edison. 2:20 is Nazareth River Wilson. 4 o'clock Green Run Western Albemarle. 5:40 Norcomen defending state champ at the 5A level Verona on a 36-game winning streak. 7:20 Lansdowne John Marshall. That is worth the price of admission alone. 9 o'clock Oscar Smith, the host team, and we played them last night, and thank God I'm done with them. They are a machine, and they take on Wakefield. So get out there. $10 sounds like a lot, but if you get there early enough, you're going to see a lot of games. Definitely going to be worth it to get out there. My co-host today, since Matt's over there at Virginia Preps, Lynn Burke. Lynn, again, welcome in. Thomas Simmons is touching buttons, and you'll hear his voice from time to time. Right now, the voice we want to hear is the head coach of the Cox Falcons, a team that is quietly doing a number at I think they are 13 and 3. Well, we'll find out.
13 and 3.
Yeah, Bobby, that's you out there, right?
Yep, that's me.
13 and 3. Congrats on it so far. I know you got a lot more to go. Big win last night over Tallwood. And this time of the season, when you're going in that playoff hunt, every win is big because when you don't, you're going the other way quick. So congrats on that. And before we get started, get in depth with your team, let's have people know your background. I know we had you on before, but this is the first time in a bit. Let's go all the way back to your high school days and bring us up to the year right now at Cox.
Well, I was at Kellum. I graduated there in 90, played basketball there, then went to ODU, ended up somehow becoming a teacher, and then have been coaching ever since really I was a junior in high school. So I've been coaching for a little bit. Got here at Cox, so I've been here. This is my 22nd year.
Wow.
Here, so I did JV for 9, varsity for. This is my 13th year varsity. Yeah.
You must have started coaching when you were in kindergarten because everybody ever see Bobby? He looks about 25. I celebrate 6 birthdays every season. I can't get younger in my coaching, but Bobby looks like. He looks like he's 25 years old. This is your 22nd year at Cox?
Yeah, my 22nd. Coaching JV and varsity, too, yeah.
That blows my mind.
I had kids late in life.
Wow. I got to be drinking something that you're drinking or living where you're living because, I started this season, I was 31. Somebody told me I'm 74 on my birth certificate. I turned 74. Like last night, I aged about 9 years. Bobby, we had 3 starters who were averaging 24 points collectively together, hit for 2 points last night. So welcome to my world.
Yeah, that's tough when you're missing that.
Yeah, that was a definite downer for us. But and we're fighting to get in. I would say that it looks like you guys, you're right in the middle of it. We look at the newest ratings now, and I know us coaches don't want to talk about stuff like this because we feel it jinxes us. But you're right in the middle of that Region 6.
Yeah.
You got, if the playoffs were to start today, that famous saying, you would come in as the number 5 and you would have to take on Granby. And let me tell you about the people out there in Lynn, Class 6, Region A. Right now, Oscar Smith's number 1. Mm-hmm. And I attest to the very simple words that team is a machine because we saw it last night. They got scores everywhere. Number 2 is Lansdowne. Good enough to win a state title, and they're number 2 in our area. Number 3 is Western Branch, and I had the unfortunate pleasure of playing them twice this year. Another team that puts points on the floor, all 5 positions. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. They're not power up front, but they don't need to be. Then number 4, you have Granby, who beginning of the year was just destroying people. Then they got a couple losses, and now they're right in the middle of the pack. And that's a team led by the Epps brothers that can win a state title. You got Bobby's team, the Cox Falcons, at 5. They're a team you don't want to play this. They do not make mistakes. When you play Cox, if you don't beat them, they will not beat themselves. That's how I look at Bobby's teams. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and they execute their butts off. 6 is Kellum, very much similar the same way. Norm Hassel's team at Kellum. They're not going to beat themselves, and when you give them mistakes, they're going to turn them into points. Then you got Woodside at number 7, as athletic as any team in that region. And then at number 8 is First Colonial. Now, that's a younger team. You look at them and say, wait, how did they get there? Well, Mark Butts has taken that younger team and he's molded them into a playoff contender. So, Bobby, I say to you, good luck, because if you would get by that first round, it definitely is going to get harder all the way for you.
Yeah, I feel the 6A is probably one of the top in the state. It's so heavy at the top, 1 through 6. I mean, you're going to have a 6 seed with maybe 4 losses. And any of it's going to be the team that's playing, as I can attest from last year, the team that hits that hot streak at the right time has got a chance to win the states, I think. 6A, whoever comes out of there, I think has a great chance to win it.
Bobby, let's talk about your team a little bit. Guard-oriented, as I understand?
Yeah, we don't have much size, which hurts us in some games. But, like the other night against Lansdowne, they got a lot of size, and we were able to compete. It was a tie game with like 3 minutes left over there, so that was big. But, yeah, we're guard heavy with Kayvon James, Jordan Lewis, and Tavion Robinson, who's out right now. He didn't even play last night, but hopefully we get him back in a week or two. They just do a great job. Jordan Lewis, I feel, is one of the most underrated guards in the state, to be honest, because he can just handle the ball against any pressure. He's had 4 games where he's had double-digit assists, which always gets overlooked. But our guards have definitely carried us. That's what carried us last year, too.
Now, Bobby, any of those kids getting looks for next level? Any of your kids?
Well, KJ, he's already committed to University of Lynchburg. A lot of the D3s like Jordan, he's only a junior, and other kid, Deshaun Creighton, colleges are starting to come to us about him. He plays the 5 for us, even though he's 6'1", but he offensively plays on the wing or in the paint or attacks the glass, so he's all over the place.
Now, I see you guys are 13-3. Who are the 3 that you went down to?
Well, we started off the season, we weren't at full strength, and we started out 1-2. We lost to Kempsville. And we lost to Peninsula Catholic, and then we just lost to Lansdowne. We ran off 11 in a row. I didn't even realize it. So we were on a good little streak going into Lansdowne.
Well, you lost to Kempsville. They're in contention. In fact, they're in the playoff spot for Division 5. Peninsula Catholic, we played them in the summertime. Very athletic team that will probably win a few games in the private school playoffs. And, of course, we already talked about Lansdowne. So you didn't lose to Chopped Liver, and obviously beginning of the year trying to put your team together. I don't think Tavion was with you right off the bat, correct?
No, he didn't even practice with us until after our first game. And then he slowly came in. So when we lost to Peninsula Catholic, it was like the first time they all 3 played together, and I think I could have coached that game better. Maybe we could have won it, but overall, once we started getting to the groove, then after that we beat Lansdowne, which was a huge win, and we kind of went on a roll from there. Beat Patriot, beat Green Run, so we definitely played some top teams in the state, whether it's 5A or 6A, and got some big wins.
Well, like you said, you're battle tested, and that's what you want to be at this time of the year, because as you move into the playoffs, let alone your region, once you get out of there, that's the type of teams you're going to see. You're not playing a 12 seed because you only take 8 in your region, so you're not playing teams 9 through 12 or how many teams are in there. So obviously the kids have to be battle tested, and of course injuries this time of the year you have to be careful of. As you said, Tavion's out for a little bit, but you'll be getting him back. And your kids are, as a testament to you and your squad, you're not a one-person team. And that's the thing I've always admired about your teams is there's not really one guy you can concentrate. Like last night, we kind of concentrated on a kid that's been hurt, and that's the Harrell kid for Smith. We held him to 4 points, but we got destroyed by everybody else because you can't concentrate a team like that. There's too many other weapons, and I think that's a tribute to your squad too. That people could say, well, we got to stop Robinson, we'll beat them. That's not true because he's not playing, and you're still winning.
Yeah. We've had 6 different leading scorers. We've probably had 4 games where we've had 5 guys with double digits, so it's definitely spread out. I got guys that are just stepping up. Another kid that's been coming off the bench, Jai Red. He's come in and just given us energy off the bench, and he led us in scoring last night with 18. So different guys are stepping up, and that's what we need at this time because we got to figure out who's going to be ready once we get into the regional.
It's good to have that balance, I'm sure.
Yeah, it definitely. it makes it easy so teams can't just concentrate. I mean, a lot of times they are concentrating on KJ because he is our leading scorer, but that's opened up things for like Jai and Deshaun and, of course, Tavion and then Jordan as well. So we got different guys that can do different things, and hopefully they can keep doing those things.
And who do you have left on your schedule?
We've got next week, it's exam week, so we got Bayside, and then we've got FC, which will be a big game. That's always a battle, no matter he's had teams that have been great and my teams have struggled, and it's come down to the wire or vice versa. Just that rivalry right around the corner. We also got Ocean Lakes and then Kellum. That's who we end with. So that last game could actually, say where we are or say where they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would definitely be a situation because at the end you're going to have a lot of teams close, towards those teams that are trying to get in, obviously, and then of course towards the top you've got teams that are battling. Now in your region, for Class 6, you take 8, first round at the higher seed. Is that the way it is throughout, or you guys are going over?
Yeah, well, it's first round's higher seed, and then if you win that game, the next 2 rounds are at scope. Okay,
just like Division 5. So, okay.
Yes, exactly like 5.
So that'll work onto that. Now, Bobby, I got to ask you a question. You've been around a while.
Yeah.
And you tell me that 22 still amazes me. Who are some of maybe your influence in the coaching business when you were a youngster moving up, and even now being a veteran coach, guys that kind of influence you in what you do?
I came in under Kenny Edwards, and he started out there in Chesapeake. So, I learned a lot from him, starting out because he was the head coach my first 6 years. And then we had another coach come in, Jason Buzzard, who's down in Charlotte right now coaching, and I learned some things from him. And so, I picked things from both of them. But growing up, I used to coach against Steve Strasbaugh, and I've known him since I was a kid pretty much. So I've always admired everything he's done, and he's a big inspiration. I don't even know if he knows that, but I model a lot of the stuff, to be honest, after him. And then, college, I'm a Pitt Panther fan. I always liked Jamie Dixon and Sean Miller, those guys. But those are some of the guys I like a lot.
Well, you mentioned first right off the bat, Kenny Edwards, a guy, tremendous respect for. Having a lot of conversations with him, and I fussed him out a couple years back when he got out of coaching with AD. I said, "What are you doing? We don't need you as an AD. We need you to stay in the coaching business because you're that good." But when he brings to the athletic director position what he did in coaching, then that's definitely an upgrade for athletic director.
Oh yeah, he's very particular, and that's some of the things I learned from him. Was the main thing I learned from him really was structure. Just practice times, nailing things down. Just a lot of that I learned from him, and how to actually break down other teams when we play them. That's one of the things I always do. I did learn that from him as well.
And one other thing I want to ask you too, Bobby, this off the court stuff. There's the little debate has been stirred up about out-of-season practice. There was a vote this week to eliminate it. The vote, thank God, went through no, we're not eliminating. The schools out west, smaller schools, understandably why they would bring it up. I can see why their coaches are coaching multiple sports. Their players basically are playing multiple sports. Being a veteran coach myself, and of course I think that gives me the privilege to talk out loud because when I was younger I kept my mouth shut, but now as a veteran I'm going to speak the way it needs to be spoken. And I think it's asinine to eliminate out-of-season practice just because we can't, therefore you shouldn't. I think that's a wrong premises to go by. But I want your opinion. Another veteran guy that's been doing it, I got to hear different perspectives maybe, or same perspective. What you think?
I totally agree. I think they should be allowed to practice. I mean, if you think about it, all of these other sports, you got all these other clubs. The soccer is all year round. You got all these sports that are all year round. Basketball should be the same way. And, you don't want to burn the kids out, so we have the dead periods. And, I have kids that play multiple sports, so I don't have them when I practice, but I'm still going to work out the guys that are there, Yeah,
and that's how I feel. And I think if we don't, in all the sports, if you don't have out-of-season practice, you allow AAUs, clubs, elite teams to take over. And I think you want to take the power away from them. When people say, well, you're letting kids specialize, they need to play other sports. It's not us that's making a kid play. It's those extra club sports, AAUs that are having kids play. So you're attacking the wrong reason for getting rid of out of season. And I think, and then of course here's the other thing, and I'll say this, and I know this is controversial, but sometimes I don't mind controversy. If you make a rule there's no out of season practice, you will have a lot of teams practicing out of season. They'll find a way.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's one of the main reasons, and I won't tell you who I was talking to, but somebody high up in the VHSL, one of the reasons they allowed it or voted for it or pushed for it was they knew a lot of people were practicing out of season, and there's not much you can do about it. Some schools enforce it. A lot of schools don't. There's where your unfairness came in. So they just simply said, hey, we're going to open it up. We're going to have some dead periods where you shouldn't. We're going to let the schools control it, and we go from there. So to even have a debate about this, and they say about coaches' burnout, well, the problem with the coaches' burnout is you need to allow your volunteer coaches more say in off-season under the head coach's direction. You can't just have any joker coming in there and coaching, some parent just who cares about their kid. You have to have the right type of coach, and therefore you put it on the head coach. If anything goes wrong, it could cost you your job. I think that's where we need to put the emphasis.
And I agree because, I've had my same assistant, Kevin Hopkins, for the last 12 years myself, and, he does a lot of stuff in the summer with these guys, and, he's done a great job, and that's one of the reasons we are where we are today, because of him. But if you don't let them get involved, kids need to hear different voices, I feel.
Right, and that's why I am too. We get some of our younger coaches that they're gung-ho about coaching. I try to get a lot of my former players who want to get into coaching, and I'm very hard about who's going to be on my staff, as most coaches should be. So I want guys that are energetic, that want to get into coaching for the right reasons, and give them a little bit of say in the summer. Get them a chance to coach in a camp situation, maybe an off-season league. Give them a chance to do some X and O calling or whatever to get them into coaching. How else are they going to get a start? You eliminate all that, you're not going to really groom any new coaches.
Absolutely. I think you hit it on the head. I had that situation, I guess it was 4 years ago, where I wasn't able to coach like the first few games, a medical situation. And so luckily, Kevin had been working with my guys for so much, it was easy for him to coach the games, because he already had, where some coaches, I think, want 100% control. And I think that hurts programs, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you have to be diversified a little bit more in the offseason. You made a point that I agree with. Your voice cannot become mundane during the regular season, so it has to be a little bit quieter in the offseason and allow the other coaches to do their thing under your direction. I'm watching our JVs. I'm watching our varsity. I'm going to be around. I'm not taking, see you in November. I'm not no fool. I got to have my fingerprint on that team. But for the VHSL to come up with that, I hope they listen to the right people. And not just hurry up and take the path of least resistance, because this was a major coup years ago to allow off-season practice. To go back the other way, to me, would be a total joke.
Well, the vote was pretty significant. It was 29.
It was unanimous, pretty much, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, 29-4-3 against in one abstention. But they are going to put a committee together, bring somebody in from each region to talk about, see if they can make any alterations or updates or anything like that.
Well,
it sounds like you've got a dichotomy. You've got the smaller schools that would prefer not having out-of-season practices, and the larger schools saying it's going to happen.
Yeah. There's no in between. I think it's one or the other.
I mean, if they think they can need to make changes, the only thing I could see is, all right, maybe extend the dead period a little bit longer. Boom. I mean, because other than that, it's like you said. If they can't get rid of the out-of-season practices, some schools are going to turn a blind eye to it, and they're going to practice. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm all for. Somebody says, well, you can only work out 4 days instead of the 7, because you can't work out on Sundays anyways. That's fine. A lot of your team camps, your league play, there are some Saturdays, so you've got to have to leave Saturday in there. But if somebody says, well, you can only practice 2-3 times during the week, okay, because I'm not practicing 5 days a week in the off season. I'm not doing it.
No.
You don't have to put a rule in for me. I'm just not doing it. I want our kids to enjoy.
Burn your kids out.
Right. Let them enjoy the summer, their travel, whatever. But if I want to work out with a few kids, 1-on-1 or 1-on-2, 1-on-3, whatever, that opportunity should be there.
Absolutely.
Well, Bobby, I want to let you get going because we're up against it again. Thanks for coming on as always, and we'll be talking to you again. I got a feeling your team will be moving on. Thank God I ain't got to face you, because I got to get ready for like 15 different things when you play the Cox Falcons. So I just want to concentrate on one thing. But we wish you the best, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good day.
Bobby Wolfe, head coach, Cox Falcons. Lynn, it's a team to keep an eye on. They don't have one particular stud. You know, the Robinson fella's a great athlete, but he's all football, but he can hurt you very much in basketball. But that's a team that you like watching them play. They execute well. And
it sure sounds like if you get out of Region 6A, you're in pretty good shape on it.
Yeah, because you're going to be tested.
What's a tough region?
Really tough tested. Region. And speaking of tested, at 11:15, we're going to be talking to the number one ranked coach of the number one ranked team, LeVar Griffin, and he is one of the top coaches around. And again, I was up close and too personal last night to see what he can do. So we'll talk to him coming up on the next segment. And right now, we're going to take a break here on ESPN Radio 94.1. Come on back.